All right. Hey, everyone. We're on to our third video in our UpSkalr how-to series. This one is going to be on the trade journal. All right. So we've gone through a brief overview in the first video of the entire application. The previous video was about the dashboard and how all the calculations and the projection engine works and all of that. And so now we're going to jump into the journal. And this is where outside of trade entry, this is where most of you will probably live in the app, at least pre-market and post-market. And then I'll show you as well how you can do additional journaling during the day if that's what you want. But let's just jump right in. So UpSkalr is a structured journal. All right. So we obviously there's some you have ability to enter whatever you want. Right. There are some free text areas here, but it is meant to be structured because the entire design, the purpose of it was to accomplish some very specific goals. And I think you'll see those as we move forward. But the daily journal is split into two areas. All right. So there is a pre-market prep section, and then there's a post-market reflection section, right? And you can view these side by side, or you can view them tabbed, depending on how you want to look at them. You may choose to, do them where you only want to see the morning one in the morning. I like them side by side simply so that I can see when I come back at the end of the day, I can see exactly, I can see exactly what I entered in the morning, right? And I can compare how the day went versus how I thought it would go, and things like that. So it's similar to the trade entry piece that we looked at yesterday, in that there are some sliders, right, that you can move, and you have the ability to answer the questions that are here. But let's just kind of walk through. Excuse me. Let's just kind of walk through each of these sections briefly, and this will be a little bit shorter of a video than the last one. Because there's not quite as much to go through. So anyway, first thing you're going to do when you start off in the morning is you're just going to quickly log your mental, your physical state, right? This ties into the analytics. It ties into correlating how you are physically and emotionally to how you trade, right? So after you build some trades into the system and you have some journaling into the system, Avyras will begin to notice trends, right? Days when your confidence is high, maybe you do better, or maybe you do worse, right? Because you're overconfident. Days when your sleep quality is poor, right? Maybe you trade poorly in that case. So again, the idea is to, over time, you start to get correlations that build, and you can see them when you get into when you're going to go into analytics and correlations later. It doesn't work just after 1 or 2 days, right? You need weeks of this in order to really understand the trends. And so, I'll just kind of walk through how I would do it in the morning, right? So I wake up in the morning, energy's high, right? Maybe I had a good night's sleep, and I just kind of knock each one of these things out. Trading stress. Well, I feel great, but right now I feel like trading stress is kind of high, right? Because I kind of hate the market at the moment. So I'll put that up at a 7. Life stress is really low. Focus and clarity is pretty high. So I'll leave it like that. Physical state, I'm not tired, not unwell. I'm just going to put normal at this point. And then at that point, you get down into the market prep. Okay. So, what's your lean? Are you neutral, uncertain, bullish, bearish? After the news that just came out, this is being recorded right after, there's been some big Donald Trump and Iran war news. And so, I'm just going to say bullish. And hopefully you've done your chart analysis as well. So these are ones that you want to be able to check each and every day, right? I've completed my chart analysis. I reviewed the news. I know what's coming, right? Maybe it's Forex Factory that you look at. Maybe you pull it up in here, right? Where I've got this built right into the application, and you can see the upcoming news. This is coming from Forex Factory. So maybe you do it that way, but you want to make sure you review the news. You've looked at your risk parameters, right? And what this is referring to is back on the dashboard for today, right? What is your risk per trade? What is your risk that you're going to be willing to take for the day? So you want to be able to go and view that. And I didn't save any of that, so that's great. Let me go back and just real quick hit on these. Life stress is low. That go back to an 8. Normal, bullish. All right, so we're going to check all of these, and you do want to save these periodically and go from there. So risk parameters confirmed. trading plan, right? So have you logged below your trading plan? So I'm going to check this because we're going to actually do that right now. So let's just pretend that it's morning. It's actually about almost 6 o'clock at night, but let's just pretend it's morning, and let's just say that we've got FOMC coming up. Even though we don't, just going to make it up. So FOMC happening later today. All right, special considerations. Are there any important factors for today? Unusual market conditions, very bullish due to Iran news. All right, just very simple. You can go super deep, you can go super simple. So what's my trading plan today? So my focus, as far as how I'm going to trade, are these tags here that you can click on, and what's one thing that you really want to focus on. All right, and again, you start to see some trends form up. So maybe there's more than one of these that you want to check. I typically need to be very careful with risk management and making sure that I follow my rules. I really also like to have A+ setups. So those are the ones I'm going to check. Today's trading plan, I haven't looked at the charts pre-meeting or pre-recording this video, but let's just say, good confluence at NQ 25,000, looking for longs at that level, right? And in here you can paste in screenshots. So let's just say you have a chart that you want to. I'll just real quick grab one so you can see it. Go over to a different screen here. So let's just say you've got you've got a screenshot of a chart and you want to drop it in here. All right, so you're just going to paste it in. Okay, so you've got the ability to paste in screenshots here as well, and be able to keep those saved and in your journal so you can go back and look at them later. So key levels, NQ 25,000. Maybe there's other levels you're watching. And maybe like 80-20 levels at prior HTF highs and lows, right? So gonna watch those things, right? Mindfulness and wellness. So what's one thing that you're going to work on today? This is usually probably going to come from something that you've done yesterday or the day before, right? And you need to work on it. I had a rough day a couple days ago. So for me, I want to make sure that the one thing that I'm going to really, really work on is I'm going to make sure that I don't ever move a stop today. Right? I've got to just make sure I'm really focused on following this rule. And your situation might be different, right? Maybe you want to keep your emotions under control. What to avoid? What will you not repeat? I won't get emotional when a trade doesn't go my way, right? So again, I'm doing this very fast, but typically, I'm going to go into much more detail on my trading plan for the day, right? I'm going to be very, very detailed on the levels that I'm looking at, right? Highs and lows and higher time frame levels, where is there confluence between levels? And I'm going to document all of that here so that I've got it all right in front of me when I'm trading. And, I want to make sure that it's all here. Typically, you can do this in 5 or 10 minutes, including reviewing charts and things like that. But it doesn't take very long, right? And then at the end of the day, you're going to come back and you're gonna be able to document how you feel after trading. So end of the day, let's say now you feel completely drained, right? You are very drained. It was a tough trading day. Your confidence is extremely low. Your stress level's high. Your focus is low now or lower. And you're documenting that today was a tough trading day. So you felt great to start the day. You had a plan. Maybe something went wrong though, right? And you're going to walk down through and you're going to document the session and how it went for you. So here's a session summary section. What went well? What needs improvement? You want to be really, really crystal clear in here and be honest with yourself, right? Maybe you overtraded. Maybe you doubled down on bad trades. You averaged over and over again. Maybe you blew up. You want to document all that here. Again, remember the Avyras system, the coach is going to be able to analyze this and help you improve. Your daily Avyras intel that you're going to get at the end of the trading day. It will look at your journal, right? It doesn't run until after 6 p.m. Eastern every day. And so you're going to be able to journal everything for the day, hopefully before the new session opens at 6 p.m. And the idea would be that when that intel runs, it will be able to analyze all your trades for the day, all your journal entries for the day, and it tells you, what you've done wrong, what you can do better, what an improvement plan is going to be, and you'll see that nearly every single day based on all of your entries here. Right. So, what was the risk management lesson for the day? What are some technical setups or notes that you want to make? So here's where you're going to be looking back at your charts for the day, and did the market do what you thought it was going to do? Again, writing all this stuff down helps you to be able to grow each and every day, and you get just a little bit better every day. There's some really good traders out there that I watch, and the whole goal is to improve a little every day, right? And over time, that begins to compound just like your P&L does. Emotional processing, right? Rule adherence. Did you follow your rules? Yes or no? If you didn't, what did you break? Why did you break that rule? And so on and so forth. You can see exactly what I think the purpose is of all of this. This is a big one, I believe, right? Key learnings, right? What did you learn from today? If you haven't learned anything from today, you really need to go back and look at your journal, look at your trades, and figure out, what do you need to learn for today, right? I think we can learn something from almost every single trading day. And then here's a big one: tomorrow's focus. What is the one thing based on all that you've documented here? Maybe you've spent 20 minutes total between morning and evening, or 15 minutes total. What's the one thing that you're going to prioritize tomorrow to do better, right? What is the one specific behavior you're going to target? I hope this makes sense, right? This is really important to do every single day. It plays into the analytics. It plays into Avyras. I'll just show you real quick intel, right? There's none here. Again, because these are all kind of fake, because this isn't a real set of accounts that I'm using. I'm logged in with a test account, but every day, it will give you insights, and if you've actually journaled, right, you'll have much more detailed insights. So this happens automatically. So it's really important to do this journaling, because it plays into what Avyras is going to be able to analyze for you. And over time, you'll begin to get more and more data out of the system. So that then takes us to the weekly journal. All right. So at the end of the week, it could be Friday night. Maybe you come in Saturday. And the idea would be that you want to review your entire week now. So you've got, hopefully, multiple days, right, where you can navigate each of these days, and you can see all your journal entries for the week. Hopefully you've got 5 days, if you traded 5 days of daily journals. So you're going to go back and review those things. And then in the weekly review, right, you've got a quick snapshot of how things went from a performance perspective, right? So the dollar performance, the win rate perspective, and this is a daily win rate, not a trade win rate. Your journal entries, right? How many journal entries how many days did you actually journal, right? What was your average confidence over the week, and so on and so forth. You can see, you get a little snapshot of the week, and then you want to go down in here and walk through each of these, again, very structured and purposeful sections, to begin to assess, how did the week go, right? What was my overall emotional state throughout the week if I had to average it all out? Did I follow my process, right? Process over profit is a really big, important lesson everybody needs to learn. Profits come from good process, right, and good execution. Weekly summary, right? What's 3 or 4 sentences that describe the week? And all of these are described within the text area. And you can begin to think through your week. Right? Performance analysis. What worked? What didn't work? Maybe there's a play that just didn't go good this week. You tried it multiple times and it didn't work. Maybe you didn't follow your rules. You want to document those things. What are some key moments that you can look back on and remember for the week, and what impact did they have on you? What was the biggest challenge that you had this week? Maybe it was something personal. Maybe it was something directly related to your trading. Maybe it was platform issues. Maybe the market was just really poor price action, right? And you'd want to document those things here as well. What's the top lesson that you learned this week? The one thing, the super important thing that you can take from the week that you can then focus on next week. Key learnings, process reflection, right? You can even do a little bit of a deep dive as well if you want to look at some additional things. I built this into the the weekly review, because I think this is too much to do on a daily basis. But you can see, whether or not you actually spent some time meditating and focusing, before the market opened, and what were some of the recovery practices that you used when things went south. If you've documented your energy and your mood and things like that on the daily journals, you'll get some graphs here, and you'll be able to see what your trend was throughout the week, and so you can document that as well. What did you adhere to the daily prep every single day? And you'll get some stats here as well, and you can document as well preparation consistency. So there's quite a bit here in the weekly reflection as well. And again, this plays into not only Avyras Live, helping you work through things when you want to talk to the coach here, but as well Avyras Intel. There's a weekly review that happens also, and it's really important to read these also, because again, it's in the same format, but it's not only looking at every single day's journaling and trades, it's also aggregating it, and it's giving you an analysis of your week at the end of the week. And if I recall correctly, I believe this is set to run Sunday of every week, and it looks at the previous week, Monday, Sunday evening through Friday evening when the market closes. So the more you journal here, the better your analysis and your intel is going to be with Avyras over on the left-hand side here when you get into that section. And then the final one, and this is one you just don't have to do very often, but the monthly strategic review. This is, again, pull way back out to the 30,000-foot view, and you're getting, again, an at-a-glance at the entire month, mental state, health and recovery trend, week-by-week performance, and so on and so forth. Here, you can see exactly how this is going to work out. And then again, the same process as the weekly. Now you're looking at all of your daily journals. You're looking at 3, 4, 5 weeks of weekly journals, and you're now going to review your month. Okay, and you're gonna have to decide, right? What were the really big pieces on the board that you need to focus on when you're documenting your month? Right, summary and highlights, biggest win, biggest breakthrough. So the biggest win would be a financial thing. Biggest breakthrough is psychological or mindset. Pattern analysis, right? What was the most recurring mistake or pattern that you saw? Again, we're looking at behavioral things here, process things. And you can see what each of these are, right? I don't need to read each one now to you at this point. But the monthly review is also really, really important. It's only done once a month, right? And so I would encourage everybody to spend a good 30 minutes, maybe even an hour, really thinking back how your trading went over the month, right? If you were to go and talk to some pro traders, right? Some guys that work, or girls that or gals, right, that work at real trading desks. They're sitting in Chicago, they're sitting in New York, they're actually trading. They do spend a lot of time evaluating every day how things went, what they did wrong, what they did right, how they're going to improve. They do it weekly, they do it monthly. There's even quarterly and yearly reviews as well, where they really go back and they dig in deep and they try to figure out everything that they can do to improve. And so that's the goal here with the structured journal, is to be able to improve, right? Again, there's charts built into each one of the journals. So the daily, the weekly, and the monthly, again, to give you a quick snapshot of how things are looking. And again, I hope that this is a big help for you. One more piece before I'm done with this video, and it's this last item that we've talked about, I think, in the first video, but flow. All right, so you're doing this on a daily basis, right? You're doing the pre-market, prep in the morning. You're doing the post-market reflection in the evening, and you're getting those things done. But what about in between those periods? So what are you doing while you're trading, right? You're logging trades. Hopefully every time you take a trade or a series of trades, right, that tie back to a trade thesis. And I actually, I just reminded myself in the previous video, I mentioned I was going to talk about trade thesis. So let me take a rabbit trail right here. If you go into the user guide and you go to the UpSkalr way, I believe this is a really important item, and it's this idea of trade thesis, right? So, I put in here other journaling apps focus on importing hundreds of trades from your broker, and that's true, right? Some journals really, really like to focus on every single execution, and maybe you want to go back and historically look at where every single execution landed on a chart. But UpSkalr is different, and I'm adamant about this. I am not changing my direction on this with the app. We are focused on capturing trade thesis, not every single trade, right? What was the single decision? What was the single setup that you saw that led, it says it right here, that led to multiple entries and exits, right? So a trade thesis, let's say you at some point during the trading day, you have a long thesis that's now forming. Maybe the market's pulled back to a key level that you've been watching. Your trade thesis is now switching long, right? During that whole period, so let's say that the right side of the V, right? It's a phrase that's been coined out there, and man, the trader slips my mind. I feel bad even saying that. One of the biggest traders out there. He's all over X now. Anyway, I'll remember it probably in a second here. But he coined the phrase "the right side of the V," and this is really important because let's say your trade thesis switches long. I don't personally care about the 5, 6, 10, 20 executions that happen during that long thesis that I now have on the day. I care about that overall trade thesis. So for me, I log a single trade, right? It can be a detailed trade entry. If you've watched the trade logging video, the previous one, it can be a detailed trade entry, or it can just be a P&L entry for the day. But the idea is I want to capture all the details about that trade thesis, right? What made me get long? And maybe the thesis switches direction multiple times throughout the day, right? Maybe you're in a consolidation day and you've got support and resistance, you've got a supply and demand levels that you're watching or something like that. And your trade thesis switches from long to short multiple times throughout the day. You might journal 4, 5, 6 times, right? Detailed trades that were made up of dozens of trades each potentially. But the point is I don't care about entering 50 trades per day or 100 trades per day. I know people that take hundreds of trades every day. They're, uber scalpers, and that's all they do all day long is just take trade after trade after trade after trade. And that's okay, but I think you're wasting your time if you're logging all of those individually and worried about all of that data. Then you have to spend time going back and tagging all those trades, and it's just a mess. Focus on trade thesis, all right? And you can read about that here, and I hope you will, because I really think it'll help. I think it'll help condition you to journaling in what I believe is the right way to do it. So that takes me to flow, right? So you've journaled in the morning, you've started your day correctly, you're all ready to go. What do you do during the day? So you're logging trades, and then we have this tool in here called flow. And what flow is it's supposed to be a catchphrase, right? A stream of consciousness. It's a way for you to document your thoughts throughout the day as you're trading. Okay. So, you see a level approaching and you're going to tell it, NQ 25,000, approaching from above. And, you're just going to enter it. And it's not meant to be formal. It's not meant to be structured. It's meant for you to be able to document how you feel. Maybe you're starting to get anxious, so you're going to document that and having doubts about this trade, right? And it's going to tag this thing here, right? You're going to see this show up as you start to log trades. So let me just go over here real quick. I'll just do a very quick entry. Let's just say I've logged a $100 trade, right, near this time that I've been talking. It shows up in flow. Okay. Then you're going to type, regret closing out that trade, could have made so much more. Follow my rules. So you can see, right, the idea is that if you're within a certain period of time of logging a trade before or after, and you're documenting the flow, it's going to tie these things together. So where does this play in? Well, now when you go to the journal at the end of the day, you can see your session flow. It's documented here for you every day. This also gets used in your daily Avyras intel. It also is known by Avyras Live. So if you were to bring up the live coach, on-demand coaching, it knows the flow entries that you've entered, and it can help talk you through some of that. Here's another cool feature that we haven't talked about. I'm going to have a whole video on some of these advanced features, but it can be used in Flow as well, and it's Avyras Scribe, right? So Avyras Scribe, it listens to you as you talk. So, NQ 25,000 is approaching. I think I'm going to try to take the trade. It was in my morning plan. But, it's moving really, really fast. I'm nervous about entering this trade. Okay. So it's listening. Done. Now watch this. Hopefully it works. So it's analyzing the voice entry, it's processing it, and then it's going to show up right in Flow. You have the ability to just talk to the journal. Now, one note about Flow is it is capped, unless you pay for more usage, it is capped at 200 minutes a month, right? And that's because of the cost of the API and all of that. So you have the ability to enter this data in. I was talking, really fast and mixing things together. So, it didn't quite read that right, but you get the point. You can go through, you can also delete all of these entries. You can link and unlink, trade. So like, I don't want this trade to be linked to this voice entry, or I don't want this flow entry to be linked to this trade. So I go ahead and unlink it. Or you can link something. Maybe it should have been linked. Right? You can go back into your trades and you can see what you exactly did. Right? So Flow is a really useful tool. Here's the other thing that's really cool about Flow. You can pop the window out. Right, and you can't you can't see it because I'm sharing an application for this video. But trust me, you can pop the window out, and you can use it. Like maybe you want to put it over top of your trade window, right? Your platform. There's lots of ways that you can do it, but you can pop that window out and you can use it separately from the app, and it will still keep track of all of that data. All right, so Flow is the last piece that I'll touch on here. It's used intraday to help you, again, journal throughout the day rather than going back to your morning journal and messing with that, right? You want to keep your morning journal pristine to your morning plan. You want to keep your afternoon post-market reflection pristine to that reflection. And you want to be able to review your session flow throughout the day as you go into the evening review, because it'll help you remember exactly what you did. So you got a lot of tools here that you can use and that are at your disposal, and I hope you'll do that. All right. So again, I hope you're enjoying the kind of off the cuff walkthrough of the app, and it's helping you out. The next video that I'll come back to do is around strategy and rules. So that's where we're going to head next, and we'll look at the playbook, we'll look at rules, and until then, good luck trading. Bye.